Got an older Jacuzzi tub that has this error code, FL1. And when I push the button, nothing goes on, and no clicking sound when I'm pushing. I'm pushing it right now. I push the light works. You hear the pump. If it's your pump, follow this video. If it's not your pump, see videos below. So that pump there, I spin the back, and if it moves, then it's probably a capacitor. That's what I'm thinking. If it doesn't move, it's going to be a bearing that's seized, and that's why I was humming. Now the problem is, I'm going to be pushing I push this jet button, pushing it, and you should hear in the pack, you should hear one of those relays clicking. Okay, right now I'm going to push it. Yeah, I can't hear nothing, so I'm kind of worried about that one too. But here I have to take that pump out, to test it, I have to take everything out of the way, or try to get that. Looks like I'm gonna have to take that pack right out. So I'm gonna end up draining it and pulling that pump out. I got the pump out. See, normally you can spin that, but I couldn't get to it because it was behind everything. It moves freely, so it's not a seized bearing. So I'm gonna change out the capacitor. I'm gonna test that. Got the top off. Feels a little warm. I'm going to test that and see if it's any good. Even with the new capacitor, it still hums. So I'm going to take it apart. So I hooked up a cord in the back just to test it. And I'm going to spin. As you can hear, you hear that sound. So it starts now. The run capacitor is going to be on top, and the start capacitor is going to be inside back of the pump. You got to take the pump apart. I'm going to take apart this pump to check the switch in the back of this, and I'll show you how to take this all off. It's the same way you can change the bearing. We're kind of heading this way to take everything all off. So we're going to take this off, take the impeller off. If we break the impeller, then we're gonna have to replace the impeller. Probably gonna put a new seal in, so I'll show you how to put a new seal in. We'll check the bearing. So when you take parts off, just make sure you inspect it, especially on the inside. See if you see any hairline cracks. You'll see some cracks in here. On the outside, this one looks pretty good shape. Just look all over the place for cracks. Since you got it out, you might as well check it all out. Now, this impeller is going to be easy to take off because it's not recessed in like other ones. Okay, so you use a screwdriver, and there's a slot right in the back. If yours doesn't have it, you're going to have to I'll show you a different way of doing it. So it turns, and you have to try to hold it and then spin it off. So this one was easy. So normally you need a tool. Try to take the impeller off. It's actually it's not too bad of a shape. So sometimes you can get it in here where the fan is, or right here where the fan is. But you gotta be really careful because sometimes they're plastic. You don't want to break those cooling fans off. Or you get a screwdriver, or you get a pair of vice grips, and you get right in there and you're trying to grab this shaft from moving. But it's kind of tough, so sometimes these are in the way, so you're just going to break this off. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take this back end of this wet head. So there's 4 screws in the back. So for this pump, it's about 1/4 inch. Most are 1/4 inch. So you take these 4 screws off. Now you're gonna make sure when you start taking these off, if it looks like it's gonna, they're long screws, they're holding this in. So if it feels like they're gonna break, and they do break, then kind of just go back and forth, go left and right, count, you know, back and forth. Just do this back and forth. If it's not gonna go, just kind of bring it. You don't want to keep on going because it'll just snap that screw right in that wet head. It happens a lot. Use a marker or a nail. Gives you an idea of what everything's supposed to go back. Do the same thing in the back because we're going to take the back off. Just right there. And we're going to pop this part off here. So got that off. Slide off. These are really brittle if they're older, so be careful with the fan. Okay, inspect everything. Now we could probably put some WD-40 on some of this stuff just to keep some moisture off. So inspect the bearing. You can feel it. If you turn it like this, you can feel it. If you feel it's kind of gritty, you got to replace it. Same as with this. You just push down, just turn it, and you can feel it. So it's not grindy at all. Like I say, if you get any type of like grain, like a friction, or you can tell, you have to replace that. So we're gonna pop this back off. So we've already made our mark. Try to get it between there. And you don't have to bang. You don't have to bang hard, because once you get it in there, you just can pry it. You can pry it back and forth all the way around. Don't force anything. He'll come. Pull that out a bit. So we're going to pull these screws out. So when you take this off, make sure you take pictures of where all the wires go. So this particular one, most of the time these capacitors, there's only usually just one of them. So this is the one we got to replace here. I did test the top one and it was no good. And then I tested it again. I'm going to replace this one anyway because it was kind of old. So it's cruddy and it's in bad shape. So we're going to replace this. If they look really dirty, you can spray some WD-40 in there, let it dry, wipe out as much as you can. But you really got to be careful. We're going to put the new capacitor back in on the back, then put everything all back together, and then we'll test it. So just remember, we take this all off, take a picture. So the leads here, doesn't matter which one it goes where, just one on one side, one on the other. Now what I do is, you can do your mark here, but here I put a black mark and I can't tell exactly where it is. But what I do normally is I don't even mark it usually, but I just use the rod. Same thing with the front, just line up your mark. So everything's all back together now. Put the capacitor back on the top, changed everything. Now we just hooked it up and we're going to test it right now. There we go, it's on. And you just put it back in. Now, if this video helped you out at all, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to us, and we'll see you on the next one.